Mr. Mabunda, we spoke yesterday and you painted a bleak picture of what is happening in the industry. It created a lot of concerns. Just take us through that again. What are the problems in the industry? You say it's unregulated. You say the industry is effectively a law unto itself.
Yes, look, I did say also, Tirhani, yesterday that the industry is now partially regulated through the regulations that were promulgated by the National the Consumer Protection Act. So there is partial regulation through that. The only challenge now is the implementation of those regulations and the monitoring and the enforcement. I must say that I had a very fruitful meeting yesterday with the National Commissioner, Consumer Commissioner, and it looks like this crisis that we're currently facing will bring something positive in the sense that we may be in a position to look at possibly even having an industry code that will begin to regulate the industry in its totality, because the other partial regulation for the industry comes through the Estate Agency Affairs Board. When we're doing property auctions, they are then regulated through the Estate Agency Affairs Board. So yes, it's true there are a lot of fly-by-nights. My colleague, particularly advocate, will tell you that I have had several meetings even in the past with him regarding the state of the auctioneering industry, particularly your fly-by-nights who just operate, and some of them are not even members of the voluntary body, that is the South African Institute of Auctioneers, which I chair. And those people make, the public, even sellers, vulnerable to their practices.
But let's talk a little bit about those fly-by-nights.
And all that, yeah.
Mr. Mabunda, let's talk a little bit about those fly-by-nights, because the problem is you can come up with all the codes you want, but if you have more fly-by-nights than legit operations, we are exposed as consumers.
That's quite correct, Tirhani. And I believe that the current matter we're dealing with between Mrs. Applebaum and the Auction Alliance is the second major matter that we've dealt with in the auction industry. And we have seen that there is an increase in the number of complaints that are being raised around the auction industry. And I believe, hence, the discussion we had with Mr. Mabunda about coming up with a code of conduct. But even besides the code of conduct, we do encourage consumers to come through and lodge their complaints. And as I was saying earlier, the first major complaint that we dealt with in the auction industry was in relation to an online auction, whereby a consumer was alleging that they felt that during the course of that online auction they were bidding against themselves. And when we approached the auctioneer for records and information around who were the other bidders, as is required in terms of the Consumer Protection Act regulations, the auctioneer in question was not able to produce those records. That is why, in terms of the Act as an enforcement mechanism, we not only have the powers to issue a compliance notice where we can issue an administrative penalty of 10% of turnover, but we also have the authority to actually approach the National Prosecuting Authority so that criminal sanction can then be explored or levied against the transgressing party. And we do believe that dual sanction, that then has the effect of actually disincentivizing fly-by-night auctioneers from actually practicing because of the inherent consequences that they could suffer if consumers become victims of their unscrupulous practice.
All right. Again, we'll just explain these further in a second. But Adv Basson, from the Chief Master's point of view, what should be done in this area? What are the problems in this area and how should we solve it?
I'm actually grateful for this opportunity because the masters are involved where companies and individuals are sequestrated or liquidated in the case of a company. In that instance, assets have to be turned into cash. The services of auctioneers have to be made use of. Of key interest to the master is the regulation of the industry and the code of conduct and the kind of irregularity